Most tres leches cakes are soggy. This one isn't. Let me show you why.
Hi, I'm Paula Velez, James Beard Award-winning chef, and somehow still a mystery to most of America. What the heck, America? Today we're going to be making the fluffiest tres leches cake that's not too sweet. So good, you're going to invite me to the next cookout. So today what we're going to need, some sugar split, Hojicha evaporated milk, eggs separated into yolks and egg whites, all-purpose flour, condensed milk, coconut milk, vanilla, baking powder, Hojicha powder, and coconut extract. So first we're going to start with our egg whites, and then we're going to separate our egg yolks. We only need 5 here for egg whites. We want to make sure that we do not break the yolk, because then our egg whites won't actually whip up. So now we're putting this to the side. We're going to finish our egg yolks, because we need quite a lot of egg yolks versus egg whites in this recipe. Ooh. We're going to reserve this and put it in the fridge for another time. We have more recipes in this season that will require some of these egg whites, so make sure you save your egg whites. And if you're Dominican like me, you know that egg whites means supiro. And supiro means Dominican cake. So save them so that you can make some Dominican cake. So first we're gonna start with our egg whites. Split our total amount of sugar in half down the middle. What we're doing here is we're providing some structure to our egg whites and our yolks as well. So we're using a balloon whisk, and this one's going to provide a lot of air and a lot of aeration to our meringue. And what it's going to do is going to mix air into the proteins of the egg whites, and that's going to be our leavening agent. We have a tiny bit of baking powder in the recipe, but that's not what's going to give us the rising of our cake. It's actually going to be the egg white. We're starting it off on slow speed, and we're going to let that do its thing. We are going to set up for our egg yolk mixture. Now we have the other half of the sugar here, Hojicha evaporated milk that we're going to incorporate. And using a big balloon whisk, we are going to mix together our sugar and eggs first. Then we're going to add our extracts and vanilla bean paste, and then we're going to finalize it with our Hojicha milk. So first I like to break apart my egg yolk and give that a good whisk. And then I like to stream in my sugar. And I don't let this sit for long because sugar can cook your egg yolks. It can cook your egg whites too, which is why it forms some structure when you're whisking your meringue. But here it definitely will cure it almost. And not almost, it actually can cure your egg yolks. So we're gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla bean paste, and remember, in this channel, we measure vanilla bean paste with our heart because it's one of the finer luxuries in life. And then we're also going to do our little coconut extract, but I am going to measure that because this stuff can really cook. And it's doubled in size because of the sugar. Now we're going to give this a little stir just to make sure that our milk and our Hojicha have incorporated together, and I'm just going to pour it in. I'm just stopping the mixer right now to check how it's doing. And how I like to check is I kind of do a little peak test. So I try to see if my meringue is stable enough to hold its own shape with a peak. And you can do that by tapping the surface of your meringue, pulling up, letting it drop down, and then flipping it over. And before we continue with the rest of our steps, let's set up our actual baking dish. So So typically you don't need to do anything to your pan. You could just throw everything in. But on the bottom, I do like to add a little tiny bit of pan spray. Tiny bit. That's it. And what I do using a paper towel is I kind of rub it in. And that just kind of helps the cake release later on. So now that we've prepared our pan, we're gonna put that to the side. We're gonna bring over our egg yolks, sugar, and Hojicha milk. And typically in my recipes, I don't sift my flour. But in this one, I actually do want to sift it because it's going to break apart some of the clumps that you see here. So I'm going to put this in. And I'm also going to grab my baking powder. Just adding it right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shake a little bit just to kind of get everything moving. Then I'm gonna grab my little spatula and go in there and go to the bottom and just kind of move it side to side. That way you can control how your flour is coming up the sides. And because my kosher salt is a little on the thicker side, I'm gonna weigh it out with my gem scale. And also I'm not going to strain it because the crystals of my kosher salt are much bigger than the actual sieve. So we're going to put this guy to the side now, back with this guy to kind of help me fold in some of this flour. We're going to take our kosher salt and just sprinkle it in. And now we're going to go in and just gently stir. You can see that there was no resistance to get your mixture incorporated all together using a whisk. Typically there is, like, it's always so hard to whisk things when flour is involved, but when you have a looser whisk, it's easier. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold our egg whites into our batter. And what I like to do is I like to kind of give it kind of like a heads up, like, hey guys, you're about to become an aerated, very fun batter. Sometimes it needs a little help to get there. So I kind of sacrifice a little scoop of the egg whites to help loosen up my batter. See how easy it's getting now? You can see here, I go into the bottom, fold up, kind of like I'm scooping up. Now we're gonna incorporate just a few scoops of our meringue, and we're folding in, and then tucking it, folding it in, tucking it. And this is how you fold in anything, like if you're making macaroons, if you're just aerating other bakes, literally this is how you're kind of supposed to go through the side and bottom of the bowl and then fold upwards and then loop it down and kind of like scoop it up. And you see that sometimes I will go into the center, but that's just me checking to make sure that I don't have any extra pockets of egg whites. Right, and this is what the batter should look like afterwards. Aerated, fluffy, but still kind of viscous. So now it's time to pour our batter into our dish. See how there's some meringue here on the side? I'm just gonna mix that in. I'm gonna pour my batter in. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to gently spread my cake so that it comes all the way to the edges of the baking dish. So now that our oven is preheated, remember we preheated it before we even started this because we want to be ready to go. We don't want to wait with this batter because the longer that this batter waits and we're waiting for the oven to preheat, everything's happening. Oh my God. Your air bubbles begin to pop and everything starts to deflate. So all that hard work that we just did goes away. So today we're using Hojicha, and it's a roasted matcha that is stone milled, similar to matcha, but it has a richer, deeper, more herbaceous, nutty flavor. And that bitterness is very grounding for this type of recipe because we have really tropical flavors in the coconut, and then we have some of that sweetness, the creaminess from the milk. It's almost like you're eating a matcha latte that's been roasted and toasted, and it's in a cake. It's really fun, actually. So we're gonna very carefully measure out our powder. So now that we have our powder measured out, we are going to use a ceremonial bowl and whisk to get that all nice and together. So you're gonna have a bamboo whisk, and then you're gonna have a bowl, and you're gonna warm up your whisk and your bowl just to kind of waken everything up and make it softer for you to whisk everything up. And I kind of like to roll it on the sides here just to kind of loosen everything up. It gets our bowl nice and warm also, and it gets it ready to accept our matcha powder. So what we're gonna do is we're going to add a little bit of water, and this is warm water. We're gonna mix it up just a tiny bit. Add a little more and mix. We're gonna do almost like a feather-like movement, forward and back, and then again. We're gonna move our bowl, aerate it in just a few circles, and then we're gonna add just a touch more water. And when you see that your tea has formed a nice cap of foam on top, you know that it's ready. The only time that it matters how much water you're putting in is when you're adding water for your Genoise. The total weight of your evaporated milk and the water with your Hojicha powder should be 65 or a quarter cup. Can't exceed more than that, or else the ratios will kind of fall to the wayside. So now we're going to use a container and we're going to build our soap. First, we're going to take our coconut, and you can see that it has quite a lot of coconut fat and then coconut water as well. So we want to make sure that we're adding this first. And we are going to use an immersion blender to kind of get everything together because we want to kind of blend together our coconut fat with the water and the milk, etc. A teaspoon of coconut extract to really highlight the coconut flavor. But before we blend, we're going to add our tea. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I scrape the bottom of my bowl here. So we're gonna check our cake now. Beautiful. Just put it down on our soap pat and pan. What we're gonna do is a few tests. We have our skewer, but that's for just a second. Okay, so our spring test. Oh yeah, this bad boy is done. And you could already see that it's climbing up the sides. It's firm but very soft, and when you touch it, it bounces back. It's like a sponge. And we're gonna let it cool down for like just a little bit, but we wanna pour our liquid in while it's still warm so that it really has a lot of time to absorb. Once the cake structure or the crumb of the cake kind of locks in, then we don't have enough time to kind of like let the two textures, the two cakes meld together. We're gonna need a little offset as well, and you'll see why in a second. When I developed this cake, originally I actually wanted to include it in Bodega Bakes, but I opted from not putting anything that was too complicated in Bodega Bakes, not realizing that I myself could uncomplicate things. I don't have to be the drama, you know? I can actually make this recipe easy for you, easy for me, because back in the day when I was a line cook, going into pastry station at night meant that I had to prep quite a lot of things for service. What I'm doing right now is I'm making sure that I'm unsticking it from the sides of the pan. I want to kind of give it some room to be able to cascade down the sides of your sponge, and this edible sponge will absorb all of that on the sides, underneath, in the middle, and we're going to make sure that it's ready. It's an open vessel for our soak. And what we're gonna do is we're going to give it one last, zhuzh, and you can see that it's like lifting. Yeah, the center is kind of stuck, but you kind of want that because you don't want the cake to float. It's like so light and airy, and we build so much, fluffiness, and it's so fluffy. Look, fluffy, fluffy, fluffy. It's so fluffy that if you unstick it from the bottom, it will float on the top, and you're kind of like left with nothing on top. You have to kind of press it down. Anyways, so we're gonna add our soak now, and we're just gonna kind of stream it down. We're gonna start in the center. And I kind of let that absorb before I keep moving forward. And you see how it's already absorbed all of that liquid? We're gonna go in with some more. You could really see already that it's just going to town. And it's like I was telling you guys before, once you kind of see it pull to the top and it's not sucking it all in, I go in and I pop it in the fridge. I make sure that it comes down to temp, and then I reassess. I kind of test the size. I see how it's doing. You can really see that it is still absorbing quite a lot. So I'm just gonna give it one last little zhuzh. Like I told you guys before, I'm gonna reserve some of this liquid. And by some, I mean all. I'm just gonna pour this on top. I think it can handle it. Perfect. So our cake's been soaking for a while in the fridge, and I have my extra soak here. I'm gonna make sure that it's nice and moist. I mean, it's pretty juicy already. Just lightly on top. Just to really make sure that it is saturated all the way through. We're gonna set that to the side, save it. What I like to do is I like to kind of spread it so that everything kind of gets a little bit of TLC. So we're gonna put this guy to the side, and we're gonna make our whipped cream topping. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna make our whipped cream, and I like to use this technique because it utilizes the immersion blender versus a whisk or a stand mixer. And the reason I do this is because it creates a more compact air bubble structure within your whipped cream. Less air means that your whipped cream won't fall as easy as if you had something with a lot of air. So we're gonna whip our heavy cream. I'm gonna do something bigger than this. Give our heavy whipping cream a little shake. In it goes. And I'm gonna layer in the sugar now. This is just powdered sugar. Our second pint. We're gonna do a tablespoon of vanilla bean paste and then a little salt. More than a little. What we're gonna do is we're gonna press down. We're gonna press down to get any of the little bits of powdered sugar that are sitting on top. And before I go any further, I'm gonna taste test this because I wanna make sure that I'm comfortable and happy with this whipped cream. And if it's not sweet enough, or maybe it needs a little salt, or more vanilla bean paste, you can just taste it and adjust. Because I like to say that baking is an applied science, but it's also intuitive. Oh man, that tastes like ice cream. We never want to take this too far because, like any whipped cream, it can go past the point of being whipped cream and turn into actual butter. If that's your thing, it's already salted with some vanilla. I hear that that's very fancy nowadays. And I think we have it. Sweet dreams are made of cheese. Who am I to disagree? You always want to do this step with your attachment power down and or off of the power source, because I've seen somebody lose a finger. I'm gonna bring everything from the sides in and down. So let's decorate our tres leches. We're gonna take our whipped cream. We're gonna plop it in the center, and then another one right in the center, and one more just to start. And we're going to spread it, kind of focusing just on the center so that it doesn't slip and slide all over the place. We're going to go ahead and grab more of our cream and put it in the center again. Gently suggest that it moves from the center all the way to the sides. We just made our beautiful tres leches cake, and I think that this is perfect as is, but if you wanted to sprinkle some nice little sprinkles just to kind of liven up the appearance, you can, but if it's gonna sit for a while, I would opt out on putting sprinkles on top because it's gonna bleed. This is what I would consider the perfect bodega cake. It is just iconic. It's so soft, it's billowy, fluffy. It looks like Mr. Soggy pulled up and he said, "Thanks for watching. Bye." If you love fluffy tres leches cakes, like, comment, and subscribe so that I can make more recipes like this one.